kind of wanted to start off by asking you to briefly describe what is anarchism and more specifically anarcho-syndicalism.
Well, I think the best characterization that I know was given by one of the leading thinkers and activists in the modern anarcho-syndicalist world, Rudolf Rocker, who described anarchism in general as not a specific set of beliefs that provides particular answers to all the questions that can arise, but rather what he called a general tendency in the history of humanity, which aims to inquire into the nature of social, economic, political structures, to detect structures of hierarchy and domination, and to challenge them to demonstrate their legitimacy. They're not self-justifying, and if they cannot defend their legitimacy on some plausible grounds, then to dismantle them and reconstruct them from below. And to do this in the context of the existing society, developing alternative institutions that are more free and more just, in the hope of moving on to a world of free associations, of workers, communities controlling their own institutions, their own fate, in association with one another, various kinds of federal arrangements and so on. That's the basic thrust of anarchism altogether, in my view, and of anarcho-syndicalism in particular, which is designed for complex industrial societies.
So you're talking about workers controlling their own work and controlling the enterprises of that work and expanding out to the community?
That would be one aspect, crucial aspect of it. In fact, anarcho-syndicalism kind of shades off into left anti-Bolshevik Marxism. People like Anton Pannekoek, Paul Matic, Karl Korsch, and others, and sympathetic relationships and ideas. And the great anarchist achievements, like the 1936 Spanish Revolution, before it was crushed, did have the strong and sympathetic support of left Marxists who felt a community of interests and commitments.
Workers controlling their own work. How is this organized, and how does it arise?
How does it? Well, it's all over the place. First of all, it's a constant development. It takes place all over. There were efforts in Eastern Europe, for example, self-management in Yugoslavia. Right now, in the United States, in the old decaying Rust Belt, where industries are collapsing, they're being replaced to a certain extent by worker-owned and partially worker-managed enterprises. There's one huge institution, that's Mondragon, the great conglomerate in Spain, which is worker-owned, not the delegates selected by, managers selected by workers, but not actually worker-managed, which is a collection of heavy industries, banks, hospitals, community living, and so on.
Do they arise kind of spontaneously, and is there any kind of one specific, like, is there a system that regulates how the workers organize themselves? Like maybe in the US, like they do it one way, and then over in Spain, Mondragon, they'll do it a different way. Is there any kind of vision?
There's no leadership or Bible. Things develop on the basis of the circumstances that exist. So the conditions in, say, the Rust Belt in northern Ohio and in Catalonia and Aragon in 1936 are quite different, and the backgrounds are quite different. But there were similarities in the way the takeover by working people and peasants of their own lives proceeded.
Let's say that Mondragon wants to have an association with somebody in the Rust Belt.
That's happening, in fact.
Okay.
I don't know how far it'll go, but the One of the major U.S. unions, the steelworkers, has entered into some kinds of interactions with Mondragon to try to work out ways to develop a Mondragon-type system in the old industrial sections of the United States and revive them on the basis of worker ownership and community ownership and control.
If it is correct, as I believe it is, that a fundamental element of human nature is the need for creative work, for creative inquiry, for free creation without the arbitrary limiting effects of coercive institutions, then of course it will follow that a decent society should maximize the possibilities for this fundamental human characteristic to be realized. That means trying to overcome the elements of repression and oppression and destruction and coercion that exist in any existing society, ours for example, as a historical residue. Now, a federated, decentralized system of free associations incorporating economic as well as social institutions would be what I refer to as anarcho-syndicalism, and it seems to me that it is the appropriate form of social organization for an advanced technological society in which human beings do not have to be forced into the position of tools, of cogs in a machine, in which the creative urge, that I think is intrinsic to human nature, will in fact be able to realize itself in whatever way it will. I don't know all the ways in which it will.